I love how you go into like smile mode. You're like, ready. Like, it's Welcome to the Asian A.V Club What to Watch podcast. We are now episode 2 of the reboot, and I've brought on one of my closest friends, Nadia Neophytou, who is not only a freelance journalist, but also a fellow Substacker and has created the wonderful Substack New Mom Run Club. And in an elevator pitch, how would you describe the New Mom Run Club to people who don't know what that is?
It's a newsletter for moms who love running, but also culture. So, like, if there's a, running reference to something in the films and movies, I also like to include that, books. But it's particularly for new moms to provide them with a little bit of support, like a warm hug about what it's like to have your identity shift and then what that kind of means.
It's such a nice safe space because honestly, I think especially for moms, they're like it's almost like once the baby. I mean, I don't have any right to talk more than like I feel like I'm walking into a bit of a trap here. But like the fact that like new moms, especially when a child is born, there of course their focus is on the thing that they've created. But also it's hard for them to kind of find themselves again, and it takes a little bit of a circle. And your space, your Substack provides a wonderful space for them to kind of be like, you're not alone. In fact, this is perfect. Like I felt like this when I was a mom too, and in fact, here are some ideas that we can all kind of be a community together, and I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. Like you set up runs and you do all this kind of, yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And when you told me that you were doing this, I was just like, yes, this is totally right. I've known Nadia for a second. She is I met her at a junket. I
Green
think
Lantern.
I was gonna say there was a certain Blake Lively at the time in that film, and I don't think we had a good experience either. I mean, I was just like,
I think I did because you know why? We bonded over Cape Town. She had been to Cape Town to dive with the
yes,
sharks.
she
And so
allowed you
she
to
and I,
talk.
we hit
That's
it off, but I
amazing.
know not everybody did. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for the kind words. Yes, it's a great space to just support moms as they get back to running and also just take time for themselves. And that's why I love with you, we get to talk about films, which is also a way for me to take out some time for myself.
Well, film and TV, which is what the whole
Yes.
podcast is about. And so, I wanted, I kind of started in the reboot last episode, I broke it down to kind of new categories, making it easier because, as I said, it was very difficult whenever I gave my list of new things for people to watch, and people were like, "Yo, I don't have time to like kind of see any of these things." And in fact, maybe I'll just watch one of your list of 10. And it became really like I was like, "Wait, what's wrong with you and not me?" Because but apparently I'm a monster when it comes to like watching things, and so I'm glad you came on and that you are,
You.
yeah. And so the first category we always talk about is tried and tested. So basically shows that have been around, either like we were finally coming around to it, or it's just kind of like second or third seasons of a thing, and like the hype is not as exciting as it was before, but like we still love these shows because of whatever reason. And so I wanted to talk about Euphoria, which is in its third and possibly final season. I really don't see it going beyond what we have that's showing on television right now, and I just think it's almost impossible to get this group of leads to ever come back on a TV show like this again. And so I it's like as a fan of the show, you're watching it with this kind of like almost what's that, we're sentimental like feeling like, oh, this is
Mm.
the last time that the group's getting together, but then again, do we really need this group anymore on our screens? And so the for those who don't know what Euphoria is about, this is why I tried and
Yes.
tested. So it's really it started off as a show about teenagers and their very, very, very chaotic lives, which included a lot of sex and drugs and kind of their relationships and trying to like how they fit themselves into their own bodies, even, and all of that stuff. And it was so extreme that people were just in shock. Like from that first episode alone, like people were just like, "What are we watching?" And then, of course, people were glued, and it easily became like the biggest show on HBO when it came, eventually over time. It's created by Sam Levinson, and it has leads by the name of Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, Jacob Elordi, Hunter Schafer, who are total superstars right now. Like this is like, but when they had him, I mean, Zendaya was probably the biggest name at the time, and everybody else was like a newbie. And so to be now like X amount of years since the premiere, and it just to even get them back on the show to do this show, I think it's like a miracle in itself. And since season two, it's been 4 years since any new episodes, and we've had a tragic death of one of their leads, and then there was a lot of talk of on-set tension between the cast and the show's creator Sam Levinson. So it's I think like now when I watch Euphoria, there's an element of like curiosity watch, like what is going on? And then what's been really amazing, because now we're probably at the time of recording, we're like 4 episodes in, it's kind of really fascinating to see all of these characters and especially these actors I mean, this is going to sound crazy. They're doing some of their best work on this chaotic show. And I can't believe what I'm watching, because they could easily come in and just like phone it in. You know what I mean? Like they're like this contractual, let's do this. Okay, are we ready? Can we go now? And but I'm watching some of their best work, and it's just insane. And where are we 5 years? We basically have a time jump. They're now young adults. And it turns out that, like, as they've gotten older, they have not improved in terms of their lives. They are just as chaotic and extreme in their like young adult life. Rue, which is Zendaya, is now roped into being a drug mule, as one is. Um, Nate, Jacob Elordi, and Cassie, which is Sydney Sweeney, are now a couple, and they are financially like way in over their heads and have to resort to some really extreme crazyism. That's my new word to survive. Jules Hunter Schafer is now a sugar baby, and she is supplemented by a very wealthy man so she can be an artist, which will probably not turn out the best way for a young woman. No one is happy. Most of the women, which is one of the reasons why I'm like so curious about the show, they're presented in literal stripped down versions. So there's a lot of like skin
Mm,
that the women kind of like put themselves in. And again,
mm.
I'm like, these are stars.
Why do they
Why
need to do
why are they
that?
doing this? And they're just kind of pushed, really pushed to do wild things. Um, but at the same time, I'm just again, like I'm saying, like they're doing some of the best acting in this like kind of chaos. So is the show good? Is season three good? I'm watching because I don't know what I'm when I press play, I don't know what I'm watching. Like I feel like this is like you don't know what you're kind of encountering. But does glossy car crash TV in the name of art make for good television these days? Or is Sam like so on the zeitgeist of our current state of things that like this is what 2026 looks like I don't know what it is. And so this show is like my intelligence side is like and then my kind of emotional side is like, whoa, this is insane. So it's like there's so many things going on every episode when I watch Euphoria, and I don't think there will be ever any type of show like this, at least for a while. And so yeah, I just think it's so strange, and I'm just curious, like, as a person who doesn't watch the show,
Yeah.
but obviously you're like you
You know
understand.
of it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know of
totally.
it. Like, what is your take on all of this?
To me, it always seemed like a show that I wouldn't really be interested in, to be
Right.
honest with you. Like, it was just, I was like, yeah, I like Zendaya, but I'm not really, I don't really need to be watching this show. And it's funny because a lot of the times my husband and I, when we watch TV, we're always behind, usually behind, unless it's something that we're like really into at the time and it's a limited season or series. So I know of the zeitgeisty talk around the shows and like how far they've pushed the filming and like the sex and all of that. So definitely aware of it, but it never sounded like something I was like, oh, I gotta watch that.
Well, it's also really strange because obviously, like Levinson had a major backlash when he did that other show, The Idol, and
Mm,
then, but then this season, like somebody like Rosalia, who is like one of my favorite artists of all time, like is on the show and she plays as strippers. Like the first time we see her, she's like, yes. So the question is like, why,
Why?
why with these like amazing humans who
Maybe
obviously
they
have,
feel.
I mean, listen, I'm sure he provides a safe space that
Mhm.
allows for them to feel body confident and kind of not feel exploitative. But like, I'm watching this show and I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting off of this, like it's so strange to me. And again, it's like car wreck television, but in done in it, but and then somehow in the mire of all of this there's some amazing shit going down, and I'm just like, I don't understand. And I'm like, is he a genius? Like, am I like, what is wrong with me that
Mm.
like I'm like drawn, but I don't want to see it. Like, literally, it's like this like I'm constantly torn watching the show, and it's just like I don't know what. Yeah, it's or maybe I'm just a sicko. This is kind of like
Well, I'm
that
not going to say
too.
anything, but
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not the only one. I mean, the reviews are
no.
highly
Mm.
mixed, and yet people are watching. The numbers are very good, and so HBO once again. I mean, they probably spent a lot more because the contracts this year probably cost a lot more. We've got an Oscar nominee and all that kind of stuff, and so it probably costs a lot more money to like bring these people back. So I don't know. Everybody signed up for it, so then this is the show we get. But what a weird, yeah, Euphoria. I don't know what else to say. It's so strange.
Yeah, it does sound like like maybe a hate watch. I don't know, but I've never understood the appeal. So, but that's again as someone who hasn't watched it, so I can't speak to the car wreck that it is.
But a love watch, which I kind of talked about last episode, and I couldn't at the time because the new episodes had not come out yet, was Hacks. And now that
Oh,
we are kind of entering the final, like kind of the finale is there. The series finale is in the horizon. I feel nothing but like I feel sad, and I know you wanted to talk about Hacks as you're trying to test it. So please, uh, discuss.
This is a series that I will again admit I was late to the party on, and that made it even more rewarding to kind of have the time to catch up before the fifth season began. And so, when you are tired and you're overstimulated throughout the day, you just want something that you can sit and watch. Husband, I rub his head, he rubs my feet, we have a great time, and we watch Hacks, and we love it. It is the show that, you kind of you love the friendship that has developed over these four, now five seasons, and I love that we've seen so many different versions of this friendship between Hannah Einbinder and
Gene
Jean
Smart.
Smart,
Yeah.
their two characters together. It got really ugly at times, and they moved through that. And so now we're in this really warm space where they show you like what is kind of left over, what's kind of developed from that time. And it's just been so wonderful. Obviously, the jokes are hilarious. Jean Smart is outstanding. Like those of us designing women fans, we like get to relive all the stuff that made her so amazing. And just the foil that Hannah is to her, like they're just Ava, works so well together. So every night, like every time we've been watching it, it's like, oh, is it finished? Like it's been so sad. So now to have the five seasons wrap up, and like you say, it's in the next couple of, I think it's even next week, and it's just like it's been such a wonderful watch, like just the right kind of stimulation. So you don't feel like you're watching, junk TV. You're watching something that's really satisfying and just wonderful. Like where do you get that kind of chemistry that really, really works? I mean, we saw it a lot in the 90s, 90s kind of sitcoms and things like that. It's very hard to get it now. And what they have built, I mean, we've seen it, all the awards that they've won
Yeah.
over the seasons. And what I really love about it is, again, it's that real development that friendships go through, and they bring out these parts of each other and of course, the rest of the characters are also just like, so funny. Like, you know, I there's so many moments where when was the last time you actually rewound your TV
Yeah,
screen just
to
to
like
watch
watch
something?
another. Yeah, it's and the setups are perfect this time around. I mean, every episode has like, there's like plot A, plot B, but like each kind of like storyline is so much fun, and they kind of make the characters go off and do their own little thing, but at some point they will merge back again at the end, and it's just what I said I mean, what I really appreciate is like every single actor, even the guests, they know exactly what their homework assignment is. Like I mean, obviously the leads know who their characters are, and so
Yeah.
they just jump right in and they just do perfection, right? But what I love about the show is like all the guests who show up from maybe one or two episodes and stuff, they
Mhm.
all know what the homework assignment is. So everybody just comes onto this thing like so perfectly, like ready to offer like one of the best shows, one of the best comedies that like I think will go down in history as like one of the best comedies like ever made about two women and kind of, and I just think it's so wonderful, like the legacy that Hacks is leaving behind. It makes me so sad because I feel like there's more show. Like I don't
Mm.
know. I get it. You want to end on a wonderful note. The creators, Lucia Aniello, Paul Downs, and Jen Statsky. I mean, they're like, okay, we need to stop because obviously this could be that show where it's like overstayed its welcome. But I just don't think that Hacks will ever overstay its welcome. Like the character that Jean Smart plays, it's like we want her to have a residency. Like, why can't it be? And sure, there's been examples of other shows that have come back after a period of time and just like that. Like, just should not have come back. But Hacks is like, I'm okay. I just think it's just bring him back. Just even do a stand-up hour. Like I'll watch a whole hour of a stand-up of this character like doing her thing, and that would be like perfect too. I don't know. Specials, Christmas specials. Can we do Christmas specials, please? Please.
I don't disagree with you, but I would ask you, where do you go after Madison Square Garden? Where do you go after doing that?
I don't know. I don't care. I just they have lives. They're gonna live their
Yeah,
lives, you know.
yeah. They've set it up a real, towards this real pinnacle, and it's going to be. I mean, that last episode is going to be, it's going to be just tears. Even if they're happy tears, they're going to be a lot of tears.
And it's an extended episode, so it's not it's a longer app, and so you get just to spend a little bit more time with your favorite characters. But wow, Hacks, this is I mean, come Emmy season, this is going to be the show to like the comedy to kind of beat, and I'm very happy that this is the one that like they're leaving on this terms. It's a wonderful like finale, but I don't want it to go. Please don't go. My next category is called "This Is New," so literally new things. And so I went to go see Billie Eilish's "Hit Me Hard and Soft" last night, and
Mm.
listen, I'm a fan like of the Eilish, and I listen to all her music and I sing her at karaoke, and it is the she's awesome. But I don't. I mean, maybe because I'm an old man, but like I don't have the kind of um younger woman connection that a lot of her younger fans
Mm.
have with her, which obviously through her now array of songs, speak to them about their body image, their sexuality, their kind of all of the things that like a young woman goes through, and somehow like the soundtrack of Billie Eilish kind of like allowed for them to grow up together. And so when they come to a Billie Eilish concert, they're putting a lot into the experience, and I don't think I've ever had that type of experience at a concert. I love music. I will go watch concerts and stuff like that, but I think I've only cried like uncontrollably like once, but that was because personal and then somehow the song like matched. And that was like literally the only thing. But like in my whole history of like concert watching, I've never had what I see in this film. And so for those who don't know, the last album is called Hit Me Hard and Soft. And basically this is the first tour that Billie did without her brother Phineas. And it just was a really magical, like independent kind of performance piece where it's like a simple stage. It's like literally like this two little, like it's like a figure eight almost, some lights, and that's it. And it's Billie on a stage doing her thing. And James Cameron, of a certain movie called Avatar, fame, yeah, Titanic. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Yeah, he's a new director. I think there's a lot. I've got my radar on him. He loves his 3D, and so he's bought a very special. He's created his own special 3D cameras, which probably were developed during the Avatar years. And he's brought that technology onto the stage, and so there's 17 cameras like placed throughout these stages, and he recorded two performances, one in Manchester and one in Arizona. And basically, it like to simplify it is 2 hours of Billie performing 27 of her songs. That's a lot. It's
Mm.
amazing. And so this is a very good, like if you're a fan, this is they're not like kind of, making it like an edited version. This is 27 of her of all the songs that she's done over her career. Um but what I think is really fascinating about the movie is that it captures how one woman can command a theater of like tens of thousands who are completely like just everything that she's singing, doing, whatever that stuff. They're it's like watching, it's like them being in church and they're kind of like they just want to like kind of, when that kind of like group, like that feeling like she's the leader of it all. And she's so kind about it, and so I think it's just a really fascinating movie about like the relationship of Billie and her fans, and you can see it through this performance. It there is some like behind the scenes interviews that Cameron does, but really the show is this concert. And and at some point, maybe towards the end, Phineas does come on and perform, and like because you kind of understand by then like what they mean to each other, and just watching this relationship of brother and sister, and how like he for up to a certain point like protected her from all this stuff, and then for him to like say like you're now an adult and you can do this on your
Oh,
own. I was moved. Like I was kind of like and then
oh,
like when she sings "What Was I Made For," which I love that song from Barbie, and like it fit the kind of yeah, there you go. It fit the kind of narrative for the film. But when she sits in front of like 1,000 young women and kind of sings the song, I I totally just saw like what I mean, the legacy of that song. It was so amazing to kind of see. And so, okay, is that manipulative? Maybe, like maybe it's just like, but I think the power of Billie is so strong, and like I've kind of it's kind of reconnected me to her in a deeper level. And I just never thought that like this film would do that. I thought it was just your typical concert movie, the Taylor Swift type, or the Beyonce one, which is again, these are wonderful like performance like concert movies and stuff because I love these artists, and so it's really cool to like watch them perform and do all this stuff. But this was deeper than I thought it would be, and I was very surprised. And I think that if you're a surface level Billie Eilish fan or a deep fan, go watch this. If you can get in an IMAX theater, make sure that they're playing it as loud as possible because you just want the music to kind of
mm.
like take over. But yeah, it's a very, I would say yes. If you can, go watch Billie Eilish "Hit Me Hard and Soft" because it's good stuff. What
It's on my list for sure.
yeah, I mean, listen, you and I have seen many concert movies,
Yeah.
the Scorsese one about like, the Rolling Stones. I mean, we have a mutual friend that's like a music journalist who like definitely like watches all of these things. And so I'd be curious to hear what she says, but like it is, I don't know, something about this was just definitely, it felt different. And I just think it's so funny that James Cameron,
Of all people.
this icon of a filmmaker, it's like he's like an Eilish fan. Like and he's so like if I had a chance to talk to him, I'd be like, like obviously, like what did you learn from like watching this young woman? Like cuz he's just I think his approach to it is very gracious too. Like he's not I know all. He's kind of also discovering like what the power of like this young woman, and it's just so cool to see like generational kind of respect exist on screen. And I just think it's such a cool like yeah, go check it out. I definitely think this is a it's an interesting it was a surprise for me.
My film is Devil Wears Prada 2. Actually, somebody was like, is there a hyphen? Like, is there a colon as in, there's a subtitle, but it's not. It's just Devil Wears Prada 2. Which I know was a huge one on everybody's radar to
Yeah.
go and see. And, the buzz around New York City when they were filming it, there were so many paparazzi and just everyday people like gathering around to watch this film. And I must say, I feel like it was just yesterday when we were hearing those stories, and now the film's already out. So, this one, I grew up on this. Well, not grew up, it was like 20 years ago. So it feels like, wow, I can't believe it's been
Yeah.
20 years. But an impressionable young woman living in South Africa. This was part of the myth of New York City. Young woman gets a magazine job or a journalism job. So there was a lot of nostalgia, for me going in to watch this and like seeing the characters and where they were now. One of the things I really loved, obviously, I'm a huge Meryl Streep fan. She is part of my reason for why I wanted to come to New York because I wanted to interview her over lunch one day in the West Village, which you know, she's one of those pinnacle interviews. And in this film, we get to see kind of Miranda a little bit toned down. She's very much like you kind of see this is an era where the behavior that she got away with back then, she can't get away with it now. So what does that do to her? And obviously, as someone who was also, recently laid off, this film spoke to me in that sense because I know that there are huge swaths of women right now across New York who've all been laid off from jobs in the journalism world, the media world, which is this film is coming into the zeitgeist at a really important time where we're asking questions about, these tech bros and startups and things and AI and all of these things that are coming into our journalism world and what that's meaning. And what does that mean for someone who has a job or who had a hankering to do this job, whether you wanted to do it because you wanted to work in glossy magazines or do the more serious kind of journalism that, Anne Hathaway's character was so into and invested in. But if, of course, it is a blockbuster film, so they don't really interrogate that too much. And the ending, I was kind of like, oh, that last shot, I need to talk to somebody about because it's everything that we're not going to see. So I'm not going to give it away, but I just feel like there's obviously a lot that it can't say. And I don't think we're going to look to this film to give us the answers of where is journalism, where are glossy magazines going. We just saw Glamour magazine, shut down a lot of their global magazines, and it's just really sad. So at the same time, we don't, where's that middle ground of we don't need to be spending these luxurious amounts of money and that and how do we still keep those magazines alive? So there was a lot of fun stuff, but also some really serious, issues that you think of when you're sitting in this film that you can't help but think of.
It's such a balancing act currently, especially because, media is under attack by so many different factors and just even something like the Met Gala that just happened recently. It's like, it should be this like 2 hours of just glamour and crazy outfits and blah blah blah. But it was so like overshadowed by these tech people like buying themselves a table into this space, and it just felt really like but you understand that the money needs to be there, and of course there's an element of that even in this film too. And so I just it's surprising because I think I went in there not quite sure what I was getting, and then was pleasantly surprised by it's like, oh, they're going to talk about something that's extremely like relevant to our current media space, but then that of course will then affect, I mean, whether you're in media or not, these things will affect you in other ways that, in our current state. And so I was like, okay, that's really brave of them to kind of like go there. But again, this is The Devil Wears Prada. You can't go too far deep into it. And so at the end of the day, it's like, nice clothes. Here's a jab at Anne Hathaway's character. And like whatever that thing is, like inevitably Anne Hathaway's gonna have to run from point A to point B at some point because she's the only one that can do that. And it is yeah, it's a solid movie. And I just think I was really happy that it wasn't just total fluff,
Mm.
because I think I would have been a little bit I still would have watched it. Listen, the Kool-Aid is there. Like I'm all for it, but I'm really happy that it had, a bit of lemon zest inside also. And like kind of just it was a very, a little umbrella. And so like there are things about that made it less generic that it could have been. And I'm happy that they kind of like decided to go that route.
100%. I agree with you. Like I would have definitely seen it anyway. It's just that it is nice that it tried to attempt that kind of, hey, we know where we're coming. We know what we're coming into. The costumes, what did you make of them? I mean, I really, I've seen some online discourse about, oh, there weren't as many standout costumes. I actually thought there were some really
I
beautiful,
mean,
those Italian
oh yeah.
scenes, stunning.
Oh, I mean, I still giggle over the tassel jacket. So literally, that is like my favorite outfit. Like, I don't know why. Just like my eyes was just like when she wore that, when Meryl Streep wore that, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a costume during Halloween. I just think it's like perfect I'd wear it. I just think so yeah, Devil Wears Prada showing now, making a buckload, boatload of money, and it's all good. So if you were on the fence and you weren't sure if this is like fluff, it's like good fluff. I don't know if that's like a good way to describe it. It's like Lux fluff. Fluff, Lux fluff. So our next category is called "This Better Be on Your Radar." Actually, I want you to start, Nadia. And I know you have a film called The Christophers. Why is this the one that better be on my radar out of all the things that are out right now?
I mean, I could stop at so Ian McKellen and Michaela Coel next to each other, going toe to toe, head to head. But even if you didn't have an affinity for those two actors, some of the best actors of both their generations, and then just coming together, this film it does so many wonderful things in terms of, as Steven Soderbergh, we know he likes to deal with heists and money and status and art and all of those themes, but he does it in such a wonderful way here where we really get to interrogate what does it mean to be an artist? What does it mean to be an artist who has a legacy and tries to keep that legacy going? Who's trying to build a legacy? What is friendship? What is forgiveness? What is, this whole film is how each of them unravels or unlocks something in each other in a just so unexpected way. And I think almost even if you go in there not knowing too much, you can take from it, yeah, the themes of our time, right? Art, movie, art, money, status, all of those things. But there's something in it that is just so tender, the friendship that kind of comes between the two of them and builds over this time. Like, yeah, you think, oh, he's a craggy old man, and she's the like young woman who comes into his life and he needs her, but she needs him, blah, blah, blah. It just goes into places that you don't expect it to,
Well, for
and
those who don't know the plot, it is
oh yeah.
basically about an
So
artist.
basically,
Yeah, please.
she plays. So Ian McKellen is a longtime artist whose son and daughter basically want to make sure that they have a little nest egg in terms of his series of paintings called the Christophers. They want them to. He didn't finish them, and so they hire Michaela Coel's character to kind of help him finish painting them. Then she tries to forge them, or she's going to forge them for them. So it's essentially they want to make sure that they have something to go on, to go on when he does pass away, because he's super old and not very healthy. So it sounds like, all right, we know what we're going in for. But because you've got these two titans, like it felt like watching Sir Ian McKellen in a theater play. Like
Yeah.
I was looking up at him and I was just like, oh, how lucky am I to be in this presence? And then Michaela Coel, just her response to him, and you can see the way she is taking in everything that he is saying to her. And I don't even want to, describe it, because you just feel like you're watching a play. You're watching a production that's completely got your attention. So the two of them together, that's the first reason that you should just go to see it. I felt I was deeply, deeply moved by this. And I was like, this was so entertaining. So it's moving, but also entertaining at the same time. Like this film, The Christophers, you have to just go. I'm telling everybody, you have to see this film.
It's kind of interesting because you're talking about like, and I haven't seen this, and I really really want to, and I'm really glad that you wanted to like kind of shine a light on it. Originally I was gonna do, because I create these crazy genres, and I'm like, the original genre is like Anne Hathaway is like in every movie at the moment, because the trailers for The Odyssey and then like Verity and all these movies are coming out, and it's like, wait, did she just spend like the past 2 years just making everything, and now it's all coming in succession? But I really the new genre I know is like, I know that Anne Hathaway's in every movie, but this year I want to give the bouquet of the month to Michaela Coel, because obviously in the work that she's doing in Christopher's, but there's also the work that she does with Anne Hathaway in this film Mother Mary, which you've also seen. And I've heard that Michaela is so wonderful in that movie too. And it's just interesting watching this woman who obviously is such a powerhouse in herself because she's a showrunner and she's done such wonderful work, but to see her as an actor and then like kind of filter other people's like words and then give these performances, I think I'd love to hear your take on that, because I just think she's really coming into her own as like in a very subtle way, that she's like, I'm really freaking good, and it's like, and all the reviewers are just like, yeah, this is me. But Michaela Coel's performance is really, everybody's been talking about that. And it's just, I think she's going through a moment, and I think I can't wait to see what she does next.
100%. I'm going to say that again because I just honestly agree with you. She is this moment that she so fully deserves, and we have seen her in these big roles, right? Where it's like she's, as you say, showrunner. Um, this might destroy you. This may destroy you. Like these monumental chewing gum, all these films that series that
Yeah.
have left an indelible mark on television. And here she's given, like, she's almost trusted to just do her thing,
Yeah.
and the way, like, this is a film you'll have conversations about, just all sorts of different levels and layers and things that come up. And I look forward to chatting to you about friendship and forgiveness
Mm.
and for, yeah, even, yes, art and all those big level, big themes and thematic things. But the way that she's able to tap into you aren't always able to speak about, those intangibles that make going to the cinema where you're like, something has shifted inside me after
Mm.
seeing,
Mm.
you know, she's got that. It's unmistakable.
Well, for fans who really want to see her show run again, and she's got this new show upcoming called The First Day on Earth, which is co-created by Succession's Jesse Armstrong. And so, holy cow, that's going to be amazing. But again, I just think like right now at this moment, the bouquet goes to Michaela Coel, and I'm so happy that you wanted to talk about Christopher's and also just shine a light on her. So my this better be on your radar is nothing like that whatsoever. And I'm like, it's currently the number one global non-English language series on Netflix, and it's a horror series called If Wishes Could Kill. Features a group of up and coming like young Korean cast, and basically the plotline is a bunch of high school kids who discover an app called Yurigo, and then they think it's like funny because it's like we will grant you your wish. What they don't understand that once this app actually grants your wish, you actually have a 24-hour clock that counts down to zero, and you don't want to know what happens when it goes down to zero. And so, once they realize that the predicament that they're in, they're trying to figure out how to get out of it because it's not good. And so, um, you know, I think the reason why I really wanted to talk about this, I love K-drama, I love horror, like this is, so it's hitting a lot of like my quadrants and stuff. So this is all good. But I think I love horror, and I understand that a good horror movie is extremely hard to do. Like I think if you watch a horror film and you're like there were three great scares, then it's like probably a really great movie already. But most films at best can do one, and some don't even do any at all. And so they're trying. So that's like the format of a horror, And so, and especially there's so much of it. Like if you're surprised, that's even a bigger. So imagine having at least one big scare in 8 episodes. I think that's a really right. It's like a next to impossible, like kind of thing. And so this show manages to do that. And what's amazing is that, in midway, there's an element of Korean shamanism, which I only recently got more kind of. I understood it a little bit more because there's a really popular reality series on Hulu called Battle Fates, and it's a reality show, and so they brought on all these shamans who are now like I think it just introduced this other world of like kind of it's not psychics, it's a different thing, and and so one of the main features of this series is shamanism too. And so the fact that they've like kind of almost captured the zeitgeist of like what Korean culture is like talking about and stuff and incorporated into this like teenage horror series, I think it's like super smart. I don't know. I binged this series so hard, and I was like so surprised that I was so like the acting's really good, and like it was just scary. And I think I'm not the only one because obviously it's number one global and it's week two, and so people outside of Koreans and Asians where they are discovering this, and it's going to turn into this word of mouth thing. So I figure like this will be a good time to kind of like introduce it to my non-Asian friends to kind of like check it out, especially if you love horror. Like this is definitely like something to check out. But I think even as an exercise of filmmaking, to be able to see through
Mm.
8 episodes of something done correctly and kind of successfully, I think this is a real lesson. I think it'd be really interesting to see if people will like kind of understand how like a horror series can exist like on in this world today.
Is it a gory kind of horror
Yeah.
or? Oh no,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you won't like it. You won't like it. There's a lot, and then they do that like the spray, so it's like yeah,
Thank you.
it's a lot of that stuff. Love love it. But it is but again, it's the dread of it all. And so when the big thing happens, you're like, ugh, you're just so like the buildup is too much. And so by the time it happens, you're like, oh my God, it's scary. It's just scary. So I highly yeah, I wanted this to be on everybody's radar if Wishes Could Kill, which is streaming on Netflix now. Okay, now finally, speed round. We whether we've seen it or not, it's in our radar or not, that kind of thing. I just wanted to like put a light on it, and then you can kind of, we don't. A lot of times these are shows that are not even out yet, so therefore, if we've watched it, we probably signed like embargoes, so we can't really say too much about it. But like this is stuff that like I want people to know, and so therefore you do too. And so my speed round begins with a new series on Netflix also called The Boroughs. Now the pitch is imagine the Goonies meets Gremlins but is a group of cocoon people filtered through 80s nostalgia tone, and you get this upcoming series. Now, the cast of actors were all definitely working during the 80s. So you've got Alfred Molina as a depressed retired scientist who was forced to move into this fancy retirement community to live among his peers. And part of the peer group includes Alfred Woodward, Gina Davis, Dennis O'Hare, Bill Pullman, who definitely, and these are not your average like old folks because they're young, they're 60 at best, and so and they are pot smoking and they have sex and they should be living their best lives, but something's not quite right in this community, and this Scooby Gang have to figure out what is going on. And it's executive produced by the Duffer Brothers, so definitely that the 80s like sheen is definitely on it. But when I was watching this, I'm like convinced this is going to be like a surprise hit series for Netflix. And I just love the fact that it's the main cast is like adults, and it's for the adults. It's
Oh,
the adults that grew up in that era, and we are of that age now, and we will watch people that look like us or maybe older than us go through the adventure that we all deserve as adults. And I just think it's so cool to kind of like witness that. And I think I bet you that initial elevator pitch literally was something similar. And it was like, yes, we will invest into this. But yeah, it is a surprise. I think it's a surprise hit. And I fully like would love people to check it out when it comes out May 21st on Netflix. Nadia, yeah, check. You have a
I'm going
show.
to add that to the list.
Yes, please add that to the list. You've got a series, a movie that's at Cannes. Can you tell us a little bit about it and why?
Well, the Cannes Film Festival is a place that you and I used to be going and gallivanting around quite a lot. And, over the years, I've seen some incredible cinema there from Africa. Being from South Africa, it's been a very big passion project in terms of collecting all these films that have gone on to show on a bigger screen, on a bigger stage, like the stage that you get at the Cannes Film Festival. And so one of the big names in terms of African cinema is a new name. She is actually a woman who she went to Cannes in 2022 with this project that got developed at one of their, they have those programs to help take an idea and get it to be a full feature film. She's a Rwandan filmmaker, and this is actually the first time that a Rwandan film has made it into this official selection of the Cannes Film Festival. It's in the Uncertain Regard, so that's the section, that's just sort of under the main one. It's called Benimana is the name of the film, and her name is, I just want to get this right, it is Marie Clementine Dussam Dusa Bejambo. And it's called a post-genocide film. Obviously, the Rwandan history of the genocide against the Tutsis is one of the biggest, stories in African history, certainly for Rwanda. And it's had repercussions that have long been playing out in the country and its inhabitants for so many years. So what's really interesting about this is that she takes it and looks at it from a woman's perspective. And that's why I really appreciate this. She, as a woman, and her producer is a woman as well. The cast is mostly local. It follows this woman who is a survivor of the genocide that happened in 1994. And there was a line actually in a behind the scenes interview where she said, where she said she wanted to look at what happens when who you show up in your community who you show up as in your community in the morning is different to who you go to bed, as at night.
Right. Wow.
And that kind of like really different identity shifts that kind of have had to take place in this kind of aftermath that's still being felt some 30 odd years later, the whole process of justice and reconciliation and how she's trying to deal with all of this. So obviously, we haven't seen the film yet. I haven't seen it, but I'm just deeply interested in how film can be such an important tool to tell these stories where you don't want, it's hard to confront history like this and a subject that is deeply unsettling and disturbing. And, as a mother, I've become even more sensitive to watching these kinds of stories. But there's a place for cinema to help us understand it more and be more empathetic and try and pay it the attention that it deserves. And so the sounds of this, the way that she's done the research and the people that she's involved in this film, I think she will really be doing a really important and an essential piece of work. It doesn't always have to be an important subject matter to make a good film, but even just watching the behind the scenes, like the cinematography and the tenderness, but also the delicate understanding of being a person who's been impacted by this, it just lends her an ability to tell this story that I think, obviously there's been a film at Cannes from about Rwanda, but not from a Rwandan director before. And I think
Wait, is
it's
this the
really important to
first?
have,
Is this the first
yeah,
ever Rwandan director to like be
Rwandan
in?
director to be an official
Oh
selection. Yeah.
wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And she's a woman. We
And she's a
love it.
woman, and she's a
I think
lady.
women
Yeah.
have, since Mati Diop with Atlantiques in 2019, she really kind of signaled that it's coming, it's here. And we're seeing more and more women, not just filmmakers, not just directors, but in the actual fabric of getting these films made and distributed. So it's definitely on my radar. As soon as it gets a distributor, you'll know
I think what's
because I'll tell
really
you.
from a going to Cannes kind of perspective, you would think that like I think there's a lot of light is shown on like your competition filmmakers and the films that are shown there, but over time, I've discovered that like if I want something different or a fresh take or some kind of really interesting kind of perspective from an interesting kind of individual, certain regard, which is the considered the like new director kind of like or a fresh director thing, that line is always very exciting, and so to see them be open to like bringing a filmmaker and a film like this onto their certain regard like kind of lineup is exciting, and I think it's thank you for introducing that this film and this filmmaker, and I can't wait to see it. I mean, maybe at New York Film Festival, like this is one of those things that maybe it'll kind of show its way onto the US, and we'll be able to catch it together. We can do that together. That'd be fun.
I would love
That'd be amazing.
that.
All right, my other speed round is a show called The Other Bennett Sister. So we have so many iterations of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, where sisters Lizzie and Jane and the younger sisters are all seen living their best lives and finding their perfect partner. I mean, so many versions. I'm a fan. Every time there's a new Pride and Prejudice, whatever, I'm like, I'm gonna watch it. But Mary has always been the mid child, and kind of treated disrespectfully, I have to say. Like she's bookish, but not life intelligent. She's unbending and therefore overlooked as the lame one and the butt of all the jokes, in this kind of like Pride and Prejudice world. So imagine what if a series was based and told from the point of view of Mary? And hence we have the other Bennett sister, played wonderfully by Ella Brucoleri, who we see the events of the book kind of seen through her eyes, but by episode 3, um, this story allows for her to go out on her own adventure and get out of her books and kind of almost like peel away her stringent ways and in some perhaps kind of miracle of sorts, she's able to find herself and maybe even some love interest, but on her own terms. Like that's kind of the most beautiful thing about this thing. And so packed in 30-minute episodes, these are like quick and this show, I think it's a total gem. It came out maybe last month or 2 months ago on BBC on the iPlayer, and then it's now showing on BritBox. And I just think it's like a very good spring pre-summer kind of, if you like your kind of costume British Victorian kind of stories, this is a really good one for everybody that likes it. And I just love that it like takes a different perspective on something we know so much about or I've seen a version of. And Mary really is just like a throwaway character. Like she's the one that everybody's like, oh, Mary, that kind of thing. But for her to be the central is such a beautiful thing. And I just love that, like, we are now in an era where like we can now take different perspectives of like, really famous literary kind of storylines, but then see how it's done very much like your film from Kansas, from the Rwandan genocide, I'd like seen through a woman. This is a different character, and so I love that. And so any chance, I've been telling everybody about this show, and so I think definitely people need to check this one out. The other Bennett sister, Mary, is
Right.
amazing. Write that down. Okay, you've got another latest show called Imperfect Women. Why? What is Imperfect Women?
Oh, this just wrapped up. So this one, again, three women, well-known women that you would immediately be drawn to just because of the title of the three of them all together, the top billing of the three of them: Kate Mara, Kerry Washington, Elizabeth Moss. And all three of them basically tell different chapters in the story of the night that Kate Mara's character is killed or dies. And so it's always a giveaway though when the names of, people who are in the series, when those characters, when they first come onto the screen and they don't get a lot of screen time. And you're like, well,
Hmm.
why would they cast a big name as the husband that we hardly see? Essentially, it's this friendship between these three women interrogated, all in the moments leading up to this night where she is killed. We don't know what happened, and each of them, we tell the scene from each of their POVs. Obviously, incredible women, incredible scenes between the two of them. What is friendship among high-powered women, or women who just want to, when you really admire somebody, what happens when that admiration, either goes a bit too far? How far? How far does it take your love and friendship when there's real stakes involved in terms of your own family, your own love, your own career. So many interesting little nuggets of female friendship that are explored in this series. And of course, it's a thriller. You want to know who did it, what happened, what's going on. So a really good one just to watch if you really are looking for something that's meaty enough to, keep you interested, but also enough to just be like, switch it on at the end of a long day, and it's a good one.
Well, that's showing now on Apple TV. Upcoming
Yeah.
now, I have another show called Rivals, which was a
Mm.
hit, but like a sleeper hit that showed on Disney Plus and Hulu, and then became one of their biggest international shows ever. And so the cast is hilarious. It's like you've got David Tennant, who plays his TV controller, David Bedingham, as he tried to lord over the formation of a commercial network, while TV host Declan O'Hara, played by Aidan Turner, very handsome, and an ex-Olympian Rupert Campbell Black, who's a lord, and he's played by Alex Hassel, and they basically try to like go against his David Tennant's unscrupulous ways. It's set in the 80s, and it is based on author Jilly Cooper's 1988 novel, so literally a book that was written during that era, and it celebrates all things 80s, the hair, the costumes, the like, and it's just naughty and fun, and like when I saw this, I'm like, what is going on? And it just became such a fun like show to watch. And obviously I wasn't the only one because it became really popular. And now they're bringing a season two with even more raunchy, sexy, naughty things going on. I mean, no, I'm not going to go there. This is something I'll tell you off camera, but like even okay, I can say it like this. Even the bodies of the females felt very 80s to me, which was like a very like anatomically gravitationally correct kind of body shape of women that like that women, I think, like in the 80s, if you ever watched those movies like Porky's and whatever, that's like I did, but their bodies looked a very specific way, and so they even cast women and men to look like, to have the bodies of that era. They're not like kind of upgraded the way that many bodies look like these days. And so I just like little things like that which cracked me up. And I was was just like, this show's crazy, and I appreciated it so much. And Danny Dyer, who obviously is like everybody's favorite rough and tumble like uncle who's got a real thick accent. He plays like a rich, shy man who falls in love with like this author lady, and it's just they're like the heart and soul of this series, and I love it. So basically, Rivals is back. The good news for the fans is they're going to drop the first 6 episodes on May 15th, and then another 6 will be released later this year. They're doing that Netflix like book of like half and then half again, and so that it gives it a, we won't get to like, we're not going to binge all in one go, and so that's really exciting. And so for those who want something trashy, it's so 80s. It's like watching Dynasty, but a little bit naughtier, and that's literally my childhood. And so this show like hits all the spots. It's showing on Disney Plus and Hulu starting May 15th. Last thing, I wanted to talk about Eurovision, and it's like, usually around this time in May, um, I I go into a deep dive of the most campy music competition on the planet Earth, which is called Eurovision, which basically it asks countries that are like participating to submit a song, and then they all compete, and then at the end of this kind of concert series, one winner will come up with like the best song of the year. And famously, people like ABBA and Celine Dion have all been on the show, and current years like Loreen and like these kind of mostly dance related, and it's just people who go there, I would say mostly gay men and women who appreciate this kind of sound. And so Eurovision has always been this like wonderful queer friendly kind of space, that I can kind of like live my life, best life for like 2 hours and just giggle at how outrageous everything is. This year's been really strange because there's been a major boycott.
Mm.
Ireland, Spain, Netherlands, Iceland, and Slovenia all have withdrawn from the competition to protest Israel's participation, which already was a bit of a point of contention because Israel was also in it last year. And it's the biggest withdrawal of kind of participants for political reasons in decades. And so that's kind of put a really strange cloud over Eurovision, and not for the same reasons, but weirdly, this is like the first time in ages that I haven't really been following the acts. Like I just started listening to one or two of the songs like this week or something, and I'm just like, I don't know, I just like maybe the state of the world just doesn't make me want to like, I don't know, go all out glitter
Yeah,
bombing
makes
this year.
sense.
Yeah, and it's such a strange like that kind of like insta joy. I don't feel like I want to. I'm not like as caught up in it as I should be, and I don't know if that's just me or if it's just like I'm like many people who also feel something like this. And so Eurovision is a strange one this year, and I'm hoping that maybe next year it'll get better, but like I still will watch it, but I just don't think I'll do a live stream, that kind of thing. And so but for those who do want to experience Eurovision, and it's showing May 12th to 16th on multiple formats, like it's gotten bigger. And I've heard there's going to be another version of Eurovision in other countries now too. And so this whole concept of like countries, it's like the Olympics of like cheesy pop, and so maybe that'll be more exciting. But it is strange that like this year I'm not as into Eurovision. I mean, I know you don't watch it, but like in the past you've been in Europe during this period of time, and you kind of maybe got some like tertiary like kind of glitter
Yeah,
like
I mean, I
on
know
your
Greece and
clothes.
Cyprus, they get pretty excited about it, but it's hard when I mean, I'm glad for the boycott because I'm glad for the attention because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of whatever happens in the world and especially in like awards and all of that seems to negate or ignore what's going on in the world. So I think it's important that things get addressed, but again, how often do these kinds of things actually trickle down to the area? Like, are we going to see an end to a war? Well, who knows? But yeah, I mean, I know that it's had a lot of cultural impact for sure. And I
Yeah.
know Greeks get very, very excited, Cypriots as well, in terms of whenever they have singers who do go on to
Oh,
do
they
well.
I think Cyprus has one of the hot ones this season, and so
Yes.
that like that I was like, oh, that's good. I'll talk to you, Nadia, about that. But it is. Yeah, there's also the question of like, should politics kind of enter an arena like this, you know? And I know you're saying yes, but I'm just curious, like is there, I don't know, like where's your, it just, I don't know.
Well, that's a long question.
Yeah, we're gonna
And I
end
have to
on
go
that.
do pickup now. So,
Yeah.
no, I think it's a very valuable question, and I would love to chat to you about it, because I do think, especially in our world, there have been many times when I'm sitting in Cannes going, what impact does this have when there's world issues going on? What's the point of this? So there's a lot, to answer for and ask art to do for us, right? So yeah, I mean, let's get into it, set aside a time and let's do a pod and we can invite some of your friends and let's
Yes.
let's really
Well,
chat
you
about it
host
because
New Mom Num Club, Num Club. I'm like, what did I just say? But yeah, you guys, you should host a very interesting special talk. But thank you so much for coming on to this. I mean, I think you were a little bit like not sure what you were going to get into, but I feel like you've done a wonderful job, and I would love for
thank
you to come back. You know, the invitation is very open for you to like return anytime you want to if you have shows that you want to talk about. Now that you know the format. Um,
I always love chatting with you. You know that. We can talk about film and
oh my God,
music
for
and
hours,
movies
for
for
hours.
hours. So
Yeah.
it's always a
Um,
blast.
so tell people how to find you, Nadia. Where does one kind of like connect with you, please?
Nadia Neo on Instagram and then on Substack. The Rundown or New Mom Run Club. The Rundown is more general. If you are a mom who's a runner and you happen to be listening, or you happen to be watching and listening to and reading the Asian A.V Club, come on over to my side of Substack too.
Yeah, it's a
Thanks for
one.
having me,
Of
Stevie.
course, always a joy, and thank you so much. And for those who are listening, we'll talk next time. Bye.